Hang on. Yeah, we're still... Oh, I'm not getting the Skype stream now. Oh, for goodness sake. Right.
This is our
I
professional chaos.
For some reason, I'm not getting... there we go. Hello, good evening, and welcome. You're listening and watching the Now Debate. I'm Jared Walters, and... right.
No, we've lost you, Jazzy.
Uh-oh. Discussion. And we are going to be talking about the CE-5 meditation. Richard, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, try and keep still. You keep going out, Jazz, on your Skype call.
Yeah, I'm getting a few issues with that. I'll sort it out now.
Right.
How's that?
Yeah, that'll be all right.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, so this is a bit of a guerrilla operation because it's the first time we've actually gone so we can actually see everyone on the call. And we're going to be having a chat tonight about the CE-5 meditation and what it's all about. Jessika, thank you for joining us on the show, and imparting your knowledge with us. But before we begin, Rich, is there any news that you'd like to deliver for people on the channel?
I'd just like to say hello to Jess. I've just actually, Jess, not long gone through your email. And I've just got to say, you are a very talented writer.
Thank you.
And my partner read the email for me because, as I've stated on the show, I've got dyslexia, and anything like more than billboard size, I don't like reading, and anything more than 5 paragraphs, I get a nosebleed. So she actually read your email to me. So I said, "Quick, we've been really busy and we haven't had time to read it." And I got to be honest, it is amazing. It's a shame I can't actually share it. But yeah, she would like to know, have you got any books published?
No, I've got them written. I finally sat down. When I was 13, it was a short story. Now it's like at least 7 books in a miniseries. I sat down and wrote the first 3, and the entire industry just crashed. And the only way to get out there is to self-publish now.
Oh, no. Well, I would, if you do publish, please let me know, because I would like the copy. I really would like a copy.
Well, if I ever get it published, everybody will know.
Yeah, the way you described your encounter through the CE-5 is just brilliant, and it is. I can really feel what you were going through, and as you've seen with the channel, me and Jazzy, we've gone through some instances, and it's very hard to put into words how it makes you feel, and you've done it brilliantly. So I'd just like to thank you for that, because it's a very interesting read. And yeah, I'm really interested in hearing your side of this story and the CE-5 encounter. So I really am looking forward to it, because I know you asked us, you thought why we have never done it before. And
yeah, I figured you guys would have.
Yeah, it's not something I've ever looked at and thought. I've always had a sense of skepticism with it, because I've done different things, and I've seen people do like meditation where they speak through voices. I've been in a room where they do the trumpets, and I've seen that side of it, and I've seen it. It's never really, I don't know why, it's never pulled me. But since you've described it, I'm actually very intrigued now. I am like, it's going to be my next step, the CE-5.
Awesome.
So yes, yeah, go on, sorry.
It's not difficult. That's certainly true. And I was probably a bigger skeptic than you are. I've been a skeptic my entire life. I'm just hardwired that way. So the first time I tried the meditation, I was so skeptical that I actually did it a second time, because I got to the end of it the first time and realized that the whole time I was thinking, this isn't going to work. There's no way this is going to work. This is ridiculous. I feel stupid. And that wasn't really scientifically enlightened or intelligent. And I knew it when I got to the end. It said, no, that was not fair. If it's going to be scientific and I'm going to be testing, it has to be fair. So I did it a second time and still expected nothing to happen.
Yeah, well, if you take us to the beginning of the email you sent us, sort of take us to the beginning of this first encounter, if that's okay.
My first sighting or my first CE-5 attempt?
Your first sighting, I'd like to know
Can
about.
I ask first, because did you have the sighting? Because I haven't had a chance to sort of read through it fully. It's been so crazy as of late. Did you have a sighting first before encountering CE5,
Oh,
or
yes.
you had a sighting first? Did you?
Oh, yes.
Right. Okay. If you want to start with that, then and that just take us through your story. Then I think would be the best thing.
Well, I had, like I started writing when I was 13, and I made it around to the realm of science fiction and fantasy. So it's like, and I kept up with this like science. I was like a backseat scientist, you might tell, because I research all this stuff, and I'm really into like quantum mechanics and all that now. But so it's like I knew possibilities, and I had encountered the Drake equation, as everybody does. But that was, formulated in 1961. Let me double check that. 1961. There's a lot we didn't know in 1961. And as soon as the
Yeah.
first civilization made it off of their rock, the Drake equation went out the window. And Drake never considered that.
People might not understand. Can I ask what the Drake equation is?
The Drake equation is a speculative equation. It's based on estimates of the likelihood of inhabitable planets in the galaxy. How many of those might harbor life, and how long a civilization is expected to endure. And the consensus being that, yeah, there's probably been intelligent life, or there probably is, but we'll never meet. But like I say, the first time any advanced civilization got off of their planet, all bets were off. And we are on a planet orbiting around a second generation star. The universe is billions of years old, and we're babies. In the cosmos, in the cosmos, we are infants.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, to think that there's no other life in this universe, from my point of view, I struggle with anybody who actually thinks that. I got to be honest. I mean, it's like, they talk about these multiverses, and our universe is infinite. If you think it's hard to quantify infinity, but it goes on forever. The possibilities are endless. So yeah, I'm with you on that. So
yeah, it is. And chances are now that there are actually theories that our universe is reproducing through supermassive black holes, which is pretty cool, because then there's the multiverse, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, like a plague in existence, I guess. Plague of universes. Yeah. And there's like an infinite number of those. There's no telling. We could be universe number 5,642 and wouldn't know it. But there may be species out there that do know it. And if you're familiar with the theoretical physics of brains, well, membranes, but they just call it brains, branes. They could all just be layered on top of each other, and there would be nothing but a thin veil between them. So it gets really. I love quantum mechanics. It's fascinating. So when I had my first sighting, I was 44. And I had never seen anything before, but I had an understanding that the likelihood of us being alone was nigh on impossible. So I was not shocked. And of course, in the back of my mind was the notion that, well, this could be something of ours. This could be human, man-made machine. But, I just took the dog out for a whiz, and I was bored looking up at the sky because there's nothing else to do at 11 o'clock at night while you're waiting for the dog to go. And it's just a huge black box. and it went over my head at about 80 feet and kept going. I just watched it go, and I just thought, that's different. And only after it had gone did I consider maybe I should have been afraid, but I wasn't afraid at the time. But that was my first sighting. And over the course of the next 5 years, if it floats around out there, I've probably seen it. If the things I have seen, well, put it this way, if each one was a car belonging to a different family in the neighborhood, there are at least 9 coming here.
Because you were out in Memphis.
Memphis, Tennessee, home of the blues. Elvis Presley, MLK, unfortunately got shot here. We're famous for all the wrong things.
Yeah. But, yeah, well, all the right things. Because I am a bit of an Elvis fan myself, like, so.
But so I went through 5 years of that, and I was feeling like I was being stalked. I mean, one day I was just going to take the trash out, and this is after I had seen some, stuff the size of an aircraft carrier. And this is like downtown. It's like nobody looks up anymore. Don't you people get off the phone and look up? There's all sorts of weird stuff going on.
Yeah.
But the day I took out I just cleaning up the house on Sunday afternoon. It was hot as a firecracker. I took the trash out. I turned around from the dumpster to come back in, and there's like 12 to 14 flying saucers, over the nearest intersection, about 300 feet over the nearest intersection to me. And I'm thinking, they wobbled. For one thing, that was kind of weird. And my first thought was, oh, now it's flying saucers. After all this other stuff, now it's something as cliche as flying saucers. And they must have heard me, because they immediately started going away. I think I insulted them. I think it was like, oh, that's your ride? That hoopty? Yeah, so so I was feeling like I was being stalked, because I went through a period of about 3 months where I just refused to look up. Yeah. I mean, it was straight ahead or it was down at my feet, and I just refused to look up. It's like, you're not getting me today. You're not getting me. And then I heard about the whole CE-5 thing, and my first thought is, that's a crock. That's never going to work. But it kept, and trying to research and find answers on my own of all the stuff I was seeing, I kept coming back to that. And I'm not entirely impressed with the developer, Dr. Stephen Greer. I'm sure he's an okay guy, but I don't trust anybody with an agenda. It's the punk in me. The Mohawk's gone, but I'm still here.
Yeah.
So I decided to test it as just an experiment. I said, okay, I put an egg in a microwave once. I can do this. So that's what I did. And I sat down. I downloaded off of YouTube some little freebie, like 26-minute meditation thing. And it was a Dr. Greer meditation, but all roads seem to lead to him. So I downloaded it, got my little chair, put it out there.
I'll cut in a second. So it's again, because I'm not as familiar with this as maybe Richard is or yourself. So it is actually Dr. Greer, Dr. Stephen Greer, that come up with the CE-5, is it?
Yeah, in 1990, he and some other folks got together and formed CSETI, that's CSETI, which is what's that, Center for the Search for Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence. Center for the Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence. Yeah. CSETI, as opposed to SETI, SETI, which is using the wrong antenna. Yeah. As I now know, they're using the wrong antenna.
Yeah.
But I
right one. It's just they're not showing us that they're using that one.
Well, they're not using broadcast radio. That's our primitive butts doing that. And they're probably out there listening to that going, WTF? They're watching the Brady Bunch thinking there's something wrong with this.
It's like the episode of Star Trek Voyager when they go back in time to like 1996 and they were watching Dallas or Neighbours or something.
Yeah,
So,
the first German Olympic Games. Yeah.
so you took the CE-5. Did you go to a recluse location or did you do it?
Oh, heck no. I live in a condo in 700 square feet, smack in the middle of downtown Memphis. I'm 2 blocks off the river. I'm between the two big bridges. FedEx jets come over here like taxi cabs. I mean, this is the probably some of the tightest controlled airspace in the U.S. just because of the sheer amount of traffic with the FedEx World Hub. Because FedEx started here, so it's Grand Central Station as far as the skies here are concerned. But I'm like, well, they can go anywhere. They can go anywhere. That's on them. And I wasn't going to go anywhere special to do it.
Is anybody else near you, Jess? Has anybody else witnessed these objects?
No, they don't look up. In fact, another day when I was just stepped outside for a smoke and ran into a neighbor, and I was talking to the neighbor in the parking lot and passed her. There went somebody, and I'm looking at that, and my eyes are switching back and forth between her and that. And I'm wondering, should I tell her? I decided not to because I didn't want to deal with her freaking out. But people just don't look up, which is a shame.
Well, it's. I mean, this is the thing. I've always sky watched since I was very young. I've always had my eye on the sky, and I've seen so many things in my lifetime, and I mean bizarre things that cannot be explained. I've seen them with friends, and I've seen them with lots of people, and I've been videoing them recently from a bedroom window because there's an incident that happened not more than just like 2.5 miles as the crow flies, and it is a massive UFO case that happened in South Wales, and it is about, I'd say, 6 eyewitnesses to this event. 6 in how many thousand people live in this area.
Well, if you think
it
about
boggles the mind.
It's the most densely populated area in Wales, but you're looking at 1.5 million people surrounding that area. So
it makes no sense.
Well, here's something that may interest you is in the process of, when I saw the huge thing that was the size of an aircraft carrier and defied all materials physics known to man, I reported that one to MUFON, and that was my first ever report to MUFON. And the investigator, called me up, and she was talking to me, and she was she says, well, did anybody else see it? And I said, no, it was like 1 a.m. I went outside because I wanted to see Orion and the Pleiades, and lo and behold, here comes this flying serpent.
Yeah, I'm interested in that. You sent that in the email. What would you say, flying serpent? You said there was no creases in it.
There was no. It was undulating. It's about the size of an aircraft carrier if you had stretched it out, but it was undulating on a vertical, so it looked like just a continuous repetition of sine waves, and it had these huge 60-foot diameter spheres. There were about 12 to 14 of those, but they were all connected through like a transparent tubing. So this thing is moving, and there are no creases or anything. There's no sound. And there's these huge amber spheres and basically a long piece of aquarium tubing. And it was absolutely huge. And, it was 1 a.m, and it was probably like 32 degrees out there. And I was crazy enough to go out there because I just wanted to see Orion because I don't have any sense. So.
Was it curling or was it in a straight line?
It was moving in a straight line overall, but it was doing this up and down, like a snake winding back and forth,
So
only
it
it's up
was
and down.
something like that.
So it's almost like
Wow.
something swimming through the air. Uh, and that's one interesting thing, though, when I did report that and the MUFON investigator called me, one of the things she says is she called personally. She's the regional director, and she says, I called you personally because someone else has seen one of those, but the one they saw was about 15 feet long and much smaller and went right over her car. Some little old lady, like in her 80s, and she was terrified. Poor thing.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well,
But
me and Jazz, I saw one, not just like from very far from here, as I can see it, the area, and it was like a reverse kite. And when it flew away, that I mean, it was square with like a pyramid at the top, a pyramid at the bottom, and it just didn't make any sense to me that if it was military, how it didn't look aerodynamic from the
yeah,
back.
that's what I thought about when I saw that first thing, the big black box. When I saw that first, thought,
Yeah,
that's a bathtub is more aerodynamic than this thing. I mean,
yeah.
and it was, taking a breeze from the side, but it was staying right on track. And I'm like, that makes no sense. There's not a seam on it, not a light on it. It's just a big black box.
Mhm. I know. So I know this. The reports I'm getting, well, the reports we are getting, is the shape of some of these objects and speed and everything else is just, the military is saying they've made these stealth planes and they're advanced in the way they use technology. We are behind to what they have, but it's still these things are not making any sense aerodynamically. They're just not.
Well, no. Well,
They just
one of the
yeah.
things
Go on.
one of the things the MUFON investigator asked me is she asked me if I thought it was a machine or a biological entity, and I'm like, biological? And she says, yeah, some people report that they see biological entities. And she says, which one did I think it was? And I just thought a minute, said machine. And she says, well, why do you say that? I said, well, it didn't have a head or a butt.
Yeah.
Only later did I assume that, it is possible it could photosynthesize and maybe it's a huge plant floating like a interstellar tumbleweed rolling around. I don't know.
Yes.
Anything is possible, I'm a sci-fi writer. Anything is possible. I won't rule out anything. Uh,
So have you always
but
been interested in writing sci-fi, or is this just since this has come about, since these encounters?
well, no, I started writing when I was 13 in junior high school. I've just always had just an incredible imagination. I will go anywhere. Um, Mentally, I will go anywhere. I'm not afraid.
Yeah.
Uh, but only in the past few years did I I took a test and discovered I have 90% of the adult symptoms of Asperger's.
Right.
and which and I learned a little bit about that and said everything makes sense now because I've spent my entire life trying to figure out what that box is that everybody is supposed to think outside of, because it's like, what
Yeah.
box? And it's like, that's like one of the number one things of people with Asperger's is there is no box. And I said, well, now everything makes a lot more sense to me. But I enjoyed writing because I did not communicate well verbally. Well, we'll go ahead and figure, back in the 1970s that they probably didn't know what Asperger's was.
Yeah.
Much
Yeah.
less the kid in the class had it. Because I had a terrible time in school. I had a terrible time.
Yeah.
My my grade point average when I graduated high school was 1.25, and my IQ was 160. So
I
I
think
did not fit in the mold.
is with you because obviously, from what I have read about what you've written, as Richard said, it is it's quite coherent and again, it's quite something. I want to get because we're obviously I want to get on get to the sort of meditation just for the people watching. And I just like to say, guys, we're not going to check the chat as much because I'm having to use a third-party device. As you can see, I'm holding my phone in my hand so you can see our faces, because I don't own a webcam at the moment. So we're doing it this way. I hope there's not too much audio feedback. If any of you could let me know, to make sure the audio is okay. But I know there's a couple of people who have joined us from the Kev Baker show, and I'd like to say thank you for you guys who have joined us and have joined us from that. And I want to ask you about, could you, if you don't mind, could you take us, I'm eager to find out more about this meditation and what, because it's something that's always, from my point of view, not, I haven't had as many experiences with the UFO side of things as Richard or yourself. To be honest with you, if UFO could land in my garden, I probably still wouldn't see it. I think that's probably why they appeared in my bedroom, like, and that's how it's all started for me. So I'm like interested in like the meditation and sort of your experience with that, if you don't mind.
Okay, well, that was the first time I ever meditated in my life. Yeah, sad to say, I was 49 years old, and it was the first time I ever meditated. But shame on me. So I had no idea how to meditate, but apparently you don't need an idea how to do it.
No.
You probably had meditated. I imagine with your background, you probably had meditated, but it was probably something you did naturally and just didn't have a name for it. And that's what I find a lot of people who are this way inclined tend to do. But people tend to think meditating is just sitting in a room with a crossed legs going on. You know, any daydreaming really is a form of meditation. So if you ever let your mind wander, that's a form of meditation. It's just a way of accessing a different level of reality then, basically.
Well, my mind has wandered as far back as I can remember. Keeping it on track is the hard part.
So that's probably why you've never actually needed to meditate.
Actually, that could explain a lot.
Yeah.
We won't go there. We won't go there. But I downloaded that meditation that was a guided meditation off YouTube, but there are all sorts of them out there for people. I figured I need one because, you know, I'm a little bit OCD, a whole lot ADD, and have the whole Asperger's thing going. So it's, keeping me in one thought is virtually impossible. And my head bounces all over the place. So if I can do this, anybody can do this. Because apparently ET doesn't care. Just they're probably amused as hell is what's going through my head.
Yeah. Well, I had some conversations with through meditation, and the first meditation I ever did, I had a sort of contact, and I can remember thinking that's the complete opposite of what I wanted. Because I wanted to follow the meditation. I wanted to go through a lovely field to a brook. I wanted to sit under a tree. I wanted spirit to come in and talk to me and tell me what was next for me. And that's the complete opposite of what happened. I went to some sort of weird ship. I was looking at some sort of strange being. He was looking at me because obviously I looked weird to him. And it was odd. And I come back and I was unsettled. And so the thought, and I did meet this supposedly, as we talked about on the channel, the Council of 12. But the conversations were they were always quite normal, if that makes sense. There was never this grand thing. They were never, it was never out there, or, as you would imagine it being cosmic. It was me sat there and them asking me questions and me answering them in my own personal, in my sort of own general sarcastic sort of way. And they never seemed to question that. They sort of understood that I was a little bit bonkers to start with, if that makes sense.
I remember that on that stream where I had a week in 2017 when they were here, and I asked, "Were you in my room last week?" And they were like, "Yeah, the dog with no teeth walked in. He was crying."
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
random thing going like. But she was my dog, and he doesn't really have many teeth, and he was crying. It was just like, what? Sorry, Rich.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can imagine, they kind of appreciate our character. That's the sense I got from, this encounter. They kind of appreciate you for you. It's just not about what you are giving them or what, the information. It's more about you on a personal level. So I can imagine, for yourself being a character that would, they would sort of see that and understand it.
Well, in my experience, I have found, at least the contacts I've made, that they tend to be playful, upbeat. I sing to them now. I give them bits and pieces of song. Uh, they don't leave, so I guess it's okay. But
So what did you actually experience then?
what do I actually experience?
When you did meditation, what did you experience?
In the meditation, I didn't really experience anything. I sat down and I just kind of followed along, visualizing as I was being led to on the meditation. And then that was over, and I said, okay, well, that's over. And I went outside with my beer and my cigarette. I lit the cigarette. I got one sip of beer, and boom, they were, like 100 yards away,
So you
20
say
feet
they
off
were
the ground.
So what was that? Was that like a ball of light? Was it a ship? Was it a
Uh,
beer? What was it?
no, it was, well, all I could see was either the front or the side. I don't know what it was, but it was either rectangular, oval, about the size of a panel truck, and two huge, huge red lights, one on each end of it. And they were just lighting, they just lit up the entire side of my building from across the street and past another building. And I watched it move from left to right, and then it moved back, and then it boom, just streaked straight up. No sound, no nothing. And I flew out of that chair because I was a lot of profanity, and I was like, I cannot believe that actually worked. I can't believe it. You've got to be kidding me. And then I cried because my paradigm shift happened immediately. I knew immediately what it meant, and I was so relieved because I had spent 49 years, you know, uh, as someone who looks at big pictures, basically grieving for the world, for humanity. That
Yeah.
when this spark goes out, that would be it. And I am so relieved now, and I don't fret anything happening here anymore, because even if this spark goes out, there's a bonfire out there, and everything's going to be okay. That great spark will go on. We can't snuff it out. Thank goodness. So yeah, I wept. I was just like bawling like a little baby, and giggling at the same time. So so that was, and after that, about 2 3 minutes of that, and I'm like, okay, I'm fine. This is my new normal, and it's been anything but normal. But for the past 3 years, that's been my new normal.
Mm.
And I no longer need to meditate at all. I can just go outside, clear night, think about them, and look up and wonder, is anybody up there? And if there is, they'll say hello. Uh, I get flashes, light ships going by. Uh, Recently, a lot more activity. Last Thursday, I had 13 light ships come over. Uh, so it was a busy night. But oddly, the fighter jets that I call the janky bastards, fighter jets didn't show up. They usually show up and try to run my company off, and I kind of get irritated. It's like, ew. That's why I call them janky bastards. Because like, you're running off my guests, all right? But they're just doing their job, I guess. It gives them something to talk about. Makes them earn makes them earn their money.
Have you ever seen the beings? Because I know I read a bit about the CE-5, and I know people who have like done it, and they've had the beings, like a physical encounter. Have you ever had that?
I have not had that I know of.
Right.
I have. If I've ever had any kind of encounter like that, then it's not in the memory banks anymore. It was wiped out or something. I have had one occasion once where I was in the park. It was late at night, and I'd been rather upset over some things that were happening in my personal life. And I was just sitting there staring at the river. But, I'm just sitting there staring at the river. I'm not crying. I'm not even looking down. I'm just sitting there thinking. And somebody walked past on the path, and they were about 20 feet away, and they just glanced away and said, "Oh, it's not that bad," and kept on walking. And at the time, I was just really confused, and only later did I think, how in the heck would that person know what was in my head? So I had that, but that was just like a person. So unless it was like some kind of camouflage, then I don't know. But that's the only weird kind of encounter I've had.
So, have through your experiences, what sort of sense do you have about everything that's happening on the planet right now? Because I don't know if you've seen the video that we put out today, and I had a bit of a strange experience yesterday. But I wonder whether or not you've had any insight into, because there's a lot of things being said about the sky right now.
Oh, they're here. They are here. They have been coming en masse. I have seen 2 mass arrivals myself, and my on CE-5 endeavors. One in December, where I had 45 show up, and they're staying in close proximity. And then again in February, I lost count at 36. A fellow down in Florida reported 20 or 30. There have been several reports from all over of mass numbers of light ships.
People have been seeing, like, we've got a video coming out soon where people have been seeing sort of glowing orbs, like pulsating orbs.
Yep.
I don't know if you know the Earth Watchman MBB 333, but I know he's reported on quite a few, and there's been quite a resurgence over the last sort of couple of months, especially since we've been on this lockdown. Are you actually on the lockdown in Memphis?
We're under a stay-at-home order, but a lot of people are going places, and a lot of people are not doing what they should do, which to me is the ultimate act of selfishness, because this is a test of love that we're in right now.
Yeah.
Either you have it or you don't, and it's clear to see who has it and who doesn't. But what's interesting is when I had those 45 light ships that first arrived in December, I had, centered and kind of focused, and my message was, we're going to need help. It's going to get ugly here. This is sad. Is there anything you can do to help us whatsoever? And then the 45 ships showed up within like 5 minutes. And I thought I was the only person to do that, but come to find out, apparently the bulk of the regular CE-5 community has been, putting out the same message. If there's anything you can do to help us, please do. So maybe that's what they're here for. At the least, they are observing and paying attention to how humanity handles this crisis.
Am I back? Yeah, we asked, because you asked us on the channel. We asked one of our devices some of the questions, and we got some pretty crazy responses, which I think we put out on the No Debate Jazz we used, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. It is the we. It says we will prevail. We will prevail, and it said about we asked about the Council of 12. I don't know if they're the same beings just coming up with the CE-5 or if that's something else. But it did say that there is things happening in the stars. I put a video out today, and it said something about ice on ice and behind something of Jupiter, and also says something like they're behind the sun. It's quite funny. I seen a video yesterday where if you look at a certain aspect of the sun, it's got a blue orb to the right and a red orb to the left, which kind of matches the sort of Kachina um, prophecies. There's people for some reason people are expecting something. I don't know whether this is with this comet Atlas or like what we got told before is the sound will sound from heaven, and that's actually at the beginning of of this show. We show that little clip, and we are going to go back and show more of this. But they have said that there is well, everyone is feeling there's more to come, which is quite strange because you would think this would be enough, you know.
Yeah,
You'd think
yeah.
this everything that's going on right now, you know, you'd think there's a not lot at there's not a lot adding up at the moment. They are saying that there is a virus. A lot of commentators are disagreeing with that, um, but we are being told that there is a virus. Um, but they are saying that there's something else. There's something else coming. We're not entirely sure what that is, but I don't think it. Whenever they said it'll be a trial, but they said it's more drama than sort of destruction. So it feels like it's something that's going to make humanity take notice, which unfortunately a lot of people in the ranks of humanity at the moment are not taking notice of what's going on, outside their front door. Never mind anything else.
Yeah, and that's pretty sad because if this does not get people to wake up and be human, and instead of just being, well, there are human beings and there are humans being less, and most folks walking around are humans being less. And if this doesn't wake people up, I hate to imagine the hell that would be required to do it, that to get it to happen.
Well, I was thinking about it today, and I was thinking, like the speed awareness adverts, right? The speed kills. Now, they put them on telly daily, right? And they keep changing them, and they keep like making them a bit more graphic. And now anybody really knows that if you're doing 60 miles an hour in a 30, there's a good chance if something goes wrong, you're going to kill someone. And they keep, and that's the same for 50, 40. And it's like, how many adverts will it take before you slow down? And I kind of think it's the same thing with this, because it's like, how much will it take before you go, right? We've been lied to, I've been lied to by the powers that be for as long as I've been alive, and it's been proven time and time again. Time and time again, it's been proven the big things, not the little things, the big things they lie about. So to think now would they tell the truth? It doesn't really, it doesn't make sense for me that they would all of a sudden be telling the truth now, because we've got so many different stories on each side of each pond, and we got every country has got their own version of what's going on and where this has come from. And I've noticed the activity. We've had anything from 5 to 6, 7 helicopters a day flying in this area. We saw Chinooks. We've seen we had military helicopter today. We've got civilian helicopters flying around. We've had planes, military planes. Something's going on. They know something's up there. And I believe that something is trying to get our attention. I really do.
Well, that's the beautiful thing to me about CE5 is it's liberating. Uh, Disclosure, if you want an honest disclosure, you're not going to get it from any government. You're not going to get it from any head of state. If you want an honest disclosure, drop your fear, settle within yourself, go outside, look up at the sky and say, just show me. And nobody in the military is going to hear your thoughts, but our visitors will. And if you're not going to be afraid, and they'll know if you're going to give a fear reaction, and they won't show up if you're going to be afraid. They do not want to instill fear in you. They want to make peaceful contact. They want to make contact that where you're reaching out in love and they're answering in the same. So do that. Just do it. Just try it, do it. If it works for you, share it with someone you know. And think Costa McCrae's, I think his group calls it the People's Disclosure Movement.
Yeah.
And that's the way it needs to happen. Because if anybody who's sitting back waiting for a government to tell them that it's there is waiting for the government to tell them how they should think about it and how they should react to it and program them. And that is no way to deal with any government, particularly if you're in a democracy. Democracy is not free. It requires you to think. It requires you to be proactive and involved. So get proactive and involved and do it.
And this is what we found, I think, with our contact, in a sense, it's a type of disclosure. And I've said this to you in the past. This has kind of been my view on it, Rich. Because we've actually had, them talk about things like reptilians. We've had them talk about things like ancient history, our religions, our belief systems. As humans on this planet, and when you look back over there's a lot we're going to be putting out in the future, but the stuff we've got out already, a lot of the time they are talking to us just as you just said. They're talking to us normally, and they're talking about this stuff that other researchers and things are picking up. And it can't get, when you've got so many people having these experiences, it's a case of like, I can't remember when I heard this, but it was like a fleet of ships could literally go over someone's head, and after a couple of hours it could literally just disappear. I think I heard on an interview last night, so a fleet of ships can go over someone's head and stay there for 10 weeks and then disappear. And then they'd be like, oh, it must be my imagination. I was a weird. What drugs was I taking? But yet a guy in a suit gets up and tells you something on TV is the gospel truth.
Yeah. Or if somebody puts it on a blog and throws it on the internet. If it's in print somewhere, it must be true. If somebody says it in some YouTube video, it must be true. Everybody seems so happy to jump someone else's train and forfeit their independent, intelligent thought.
Yes.
And that's the number one no. You're going against everything that in evolution that got this species where it is. When you do that, you're going backwards. Tomorrow you'll get up and you'll go outside with a club and beat something to death for dinner. That's not the way we want to go. The idea is to go forward, because evolution does not have a destination. It just gets where it gets. And if you stop participating, you're not going to be going forward.
Yes, I agree too. I mean, for me, with disclosure, I've always thought, they've said about the church, but I've always thought like this: if CETs came down and they said, "Oh, it was us that had a hand in we manipulated the past, we manipulated religion, we manipulated Jesus. It doesn't take away from the things the man said. It doesn't matter where they come from, it came from him. It doesn't matter if it was ETs, it doesn't matter if it was God, it doesn't matter. It's the message you're not listening to. And I think, being like that with this information is more dangerous than not putting it out there, because it's like there's certain things in this world that taint the truth.
Mm.
And these are the things we need to change. It doesn't matter. These things can't affect religion if there's ETs. It doesn't. Why does it? Why does it have to affect religion? Or, it's all tied into the same story.
Well, it comes back to what people make of it. I mean, people or societies use the language and the concepts and the understanding of their time to quantify everything. In the Bible, they had chariots of fire. The Native Americans had white buffalo woman, and they called them the sky people. And, once I saw the undulating up and down flying serpent, I called it Quetzalcoatl, because if I was someone in ancient South America and I looked up and saw that, I would say it's a flying serpent, it's a god. And they would deify these things. But here's the crux of that, though, is that, Erwin Schrodinger was right. The sum total of minds in the universe is one. It is a singularity, and we are all tiny pieces of it. Do not deify any extraterrestrials or anything. We are all equal. We're all parts of the same consciousness. It is an even keel. Do not deify them. Do not demonize them. There are good and bad people. There are probably good and bad aliens. And the only caution I might give anybody is, if you're going to do CE-5, be coming from a place of love and fearlessness, because what you put out in the world is what you attract. And that applies to every aspect of your life. Believe me, criminals know who they can knock on the head and who they need to leave alone. The same thing applies. But if you're coming from a higher vibration, from a centered position, from a position of love and curiosity and wonder, no bad ETs are going to want to be around that. They want a victim if they're bad ETs. So you're protecting yourself just by being a decent human being. And you're putting yourself in danger just by being a butthole.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on what they're actually doing up there? Because they're obviously flying about the place, and what do you think they're up to? What, have you had any thoughts on it?
Oh, I've had more. There's not enough time in your program for the thoughts I've had. But given that, there is one consciousness that we're all a part of, everything that happens equally. So when we're down here hurting each other, killing each other, having wars, living in fear and hatred, and with this whole concept of other, when in reality there is no such thing as other, that has got to be bleeding back through. Just like when you sit down and you do a CE-5 meditation and they hear you, somebody is aware of you and responding. If they're aware of that, they're aware of the rest of it. And on some level, it's got to hurt spiritually. So we're their demons. And it's up to us to change that.
That's an interesting thought. That's an interesting way of looking at it. We are causing them, we are sending negativity their way, sort of thing.
Yeah, because, there's a balance to everything. And we are here as little pieces of that consciousness, and we are all experiencing the self. And here in those circumstances, we can learn and we can grow, and we can take what we learn and what we become back to the whole. Well, evolution is evolution. And like I say, it can go any direction. It has no destination. So yeah, everything affects everything. We are not isolated. We are not cut off. There's no building a wall on some border around humanity. It's not going to work that way.
I like that. I like that. Sorry,
Yeah.
that was genius. That was genius. I approve. I just want a quick look at the chat. I know I'm going to look a bit weird because I'm on my phone here. But just want to say hello to Gary. Hello to Adrian. Hello to D Unknown. Just hello to everyone here who is watching the stream. Thank you very much for joining us today. So we've got a little bit of time left. Is there anything else that you would like to sort of give on this, Jessica?
Yeah, for anybody can do this. And if you want the some places to, well, for number one, you might want to watch the new movie that Stephen Greer put out, The Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, Contact Has Begun.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet.
It's on Amazon, iTunes, and Vimeo. You can check out CSETI's site. They have a web page out there somewhere. They are also on Facebook. Also on Facebook and on YouTube is a group called ET Connections and one called CE-5 Academy. And online you can also find Costa Macraeus's group. He's at etletstalk.com. Yeah, that's what they call it, etletstalk.com.
Interested in our experiences.
And I would recommend to anyone interested, and this is free as opposed to Dr. Greer's movie, ace5handbook.com. You can download a full PDF for free. It's originally it was in English, and they now have translations in Spanish, French, and Japanese. But there are hundreds of thousands of people doing this, and at least 100 countries. They're on every continent. And hopefully there'll be enough people doing it one day, hopefully one day soon, that the barriers can come down and we can become interstellar civilization. If we don't, we will find extinction. If we do not rise to a level 1 civilization, we are doomed.
Do you think, Jess, they would allow themselves to be filmed?
We do have some CE-5 folks out there who've, asked, and the ships would come back and like do a loop-de-loop or what have you. There was one upload one of these guys did recently where he was filming the lightship going up, 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 up. And he says he's holding the camera and you hear him go, "Oh no, come back down." And they did. So
it's not the one that's featured in Greer's film, because I did see a clip from it on Security a couple of weeks back, and that was very similar to what you just said.
I'm not sure. I haven't watched Greer's film yet.
I think that's actually on his film, because Security did a thing about it a couple of weeks ago.
I saw it on Facebook.
Yeah. Oh, I'll have a look into that.
I would be interested to see that. No, I would be. I am interested in seeing that.
But I had a similar experience. I haven't filmed any of mine because I'm such a klutz with anything technological. They would probably get frustrated with me bitching at the camera. So
you go one of them.
But I have watched them and going across the sky, and they were going to disappear behind the building, and I just baby whined, "Oh no, don't weave me." And they did this little loop-de-loop, and I'm just laughing my butt off. I do a lot of laughing in CE-5.
I can imagine. I mean, if the interaction is that, it's this sort of some sort of sentient sort of process behind it. I'm just wondering. I was just because one of the things we want to do and we've tried to do with this channel is show people the real side of it. What we don't understand what we're getting on the ghost box. We don't understand what we're getting when we're doing cases and we're having this interaction. The messages, how we've picked them up and the way we've picked them up, and I want to show people more. And so I was just curious if they would show up on camera. I really am. I would like to film that. I would.
Well, I've heard some of them tend to be camera shy.
Yeah, that's what I would imagine.
But when you're doing your meditation and you're forming your intent, you can include that in your intent, saying, if you would allow me, please let us take some video or some photos, or what have you. But intent is the biggest part of it. If you have to be coming from the right place, you have to be in the right place. The door to the universe is deep inside you, and some people cannot go deep inside themselves. They got work to do there. But anyone who can.
Yeah. Well, I went through meditation. They waited till I was in the right place. Not that I don't think they were going to show themselves in the moment they did, because they were apologetic. But I think they tested me first to see if they could have that interaction. So yeah, I see what you mean. Like it's all about the intent. They know your intent. They know what you want to do with that information. They know where, in your heart, I think they can sense what's inside you.
Well, they will know when you're ready or if you're ready, and they will know if you're not. And even if you think you're ready, but you're not, they'll know that too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right with that.
But the interesting thing about what I do with CE-5 and what you guys do with your paranormal research is they are all the same, because there is only one consciousness, and we can manifest in different forms of it, being as someone who still has identity but has passed, as someone who has not yet come here, as someone who is part of the one mind that maintains everything, or as ETs. It's all the same consciousness. So they're not different fields. They're not different experiences. They're just different sides of the same coin.
Absolutely. That's the one thing we have found it difficult because of the angle we're coming at it. And because it is open, it's like your story. We can take it on faith that this is what you're experiencing. With our story, we have a little bit of evidence, but it's still open to skepticism. So, it's a fascinating thing. We've gone through it at the moment, and over the last couple of years. It's hard to kind of it's hard to kind of sum up, isn't it? We're putting it out there. I'm telling stories. I'm doing little stories, and they seem unbelievable. When I'm telling the story to the camera, I'm like, people are going to look at this and think you are bonkers. So yeah,
I've gotten used to that.
To myself. Yeah, I'm saying this to myself when I'm doing a video. I'm like, this is madness. I'm looking at the camera and I'm saying these words. I've experienced it, but I'm trying to put that out there. It's just because this is how I felt when I witnessed it. This is how I felt on this journey. I've looked at it and gone, why are you telling me? So yeah, it's very, I'm finding it hard to just even sum it up. I can't sum it up. I can't sum it up just to make people believe it, but this is happening.
Yeah, well, I have, people I know in CE-5 who are telling me, well, you need to get the cameras, you need to get the equipment. And I'm like, anytime anybody puts anything out there, in this technological age, you can't take it on, you would have to take it on faith.
Yeah.
And that's why I think CE-5 in a grassroots movement is the way to go with the disclosure, because you can't fake real.
No.
And once people have had their own experience, they're going to be embarrassed about it at first. But then they're going to encounter somebody and say, well, it's not quite like that. Would you like to come hang out and have a beer Saturday night?
Yeah.
And, just get people to have their own experiences. It may be just one or two other people, but if it was just one to one, that would get it out there and get people experiencing and having their own experiences. And it'll be a different experience for everybody because we're all different. But all roads lead to Rome. Some are just bumpier than others.
Yeah, I think that sums it up pretty well. I think the personal experience, if you're watching this now, we'll have links and what you've said to go and check, Jess. So give it a go, guys. If you're watching, do it. Get out there where it's quiet. Don't worry about the neighbours seeing you if you're in lockdown, and just open your heart up, and maybe you will be amazed. So
yeah. About the only thing I could add to that is to I do what I call the quick and dirty med. Because I'm not an ohm person. I don't do any of that stuff. I could not sit in a lotus position if you put a gun to my head. So I'm in the lawn chair with a beer and a cigarette. But it's all mental. All the rest of it is it's mental. It's emotional. It's like your mind is the roadmap and your heart is the jet fuel, and that's what gets you there. It has to be somewhere you want to go. You have to have the right intent. But once you're centered in that, you just imagine yourself outside of the galaxy, and it's a big spiral galaxy, and give directions. You become the Google Earth upload for them. And you're going to visualize coming down 2/3 of the way out on one of the spiral arms. There's a little yellow star with, I still say 9 planets because I love Pluto.
Yeah.
And I visualize those planets from the outside moving in till I get to Earth. It's blue and green and brown and covered in clouds, and it's 2/3 water. Has this huge white moon, and zooming into my location, and this is what it looks like, and I'm right here on this bit of rock in the water. And if you're unsure of those directions, take a high power flashlight out with you. And once you've done your meditation and you get settled and you're ready and you're not sure about your directions, you just point it to the sky and go flash, flash, flash. And when I do that, I'm going, I am here. And if somebody's in the neighborhood and it's safe for them to do so, and it's safe for you for them to do so, and you're in the right place, if you don't get visitors, I would be surprised. But if you don't, the only time I've encountered people who have been disappointed are people who are not approaching it properly from the right inward position. Mm. So if it's not working, it's on you. And you have to figure out why and do that personal work for yourself. But if you really want to see something, you could probably tell your 5-year-old kid what to do, send him out in the yard, and then 10 minutes later, go check on him. Because a child is going to be far more open and less polluted than an adult.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. Well, I got to be honest, Jess, this has been fascinating. And please try and get your books published. And if you can, write about your experiences through this. Because, I mean, the email is just an amazing read. And I would like to see...
If you'd like, we're happy to put some of those experiences on our website for people to read if you want to show them somewhere.
Well, if you want, you can just use the letter. Um,
Oh, brilliant!
it's not
No,
copyrighted.
the letter is perfect. That would be fabulous on our website. I would love for people to just go and read that. We'll put it under the CE. We'll put it under the ET side of the page, and it will be amazing for people to read. That would be really nice, Jess, if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, that's fine with me.
Excellent. We'll have it. What we'll do then, guys, we will update the description later tonight. We have a call just after this show. So what we'll do is we'll sort that out, and then by tomorrow we'll make sure the links are on this show, and we'll get that onto the website as well. It is. But guys, we're running very short of time now. Is there any final thoughts before we end tonight's show?
I would just like to say thank you for letting me get this out there, because I
It's
think
been-
this is the most important thing ever to come along for this species is happening right now. And I may be one of the nutters at the moment, but in the future, those of us in CE5 will be considered pioneers. We're the Christopher Columbuses of this movement. And everyone needs to hop on the train, or at some juncture, it's going to leave them behind.
I'm up for
Yeah.
giving it a shot.
I think you bang on there, Jess. I think, yeah. I mean, it's all about looking inwardly
Yeah.
and looking at what makes us tick and our place in the world and how we can improve it. And I think in doing so, we will open ourselves up, because like the ITC stuff that we are doing, I think we are on the edge of understanding. I think we have gone far enough in our evolution to be really as spiritual as we can, right? We don't need more time. We are ready. And I think that's what's happening. They're giving it to us in spurts. They're giving it this little drip feeding us to the right people, because we are open enough to accept it, understand it, and be okay with it. So yeah, I think you're absolutely smack on with that. So yeah, and thank you so much for giving this story, and hopefully we will have more from you in the
Yeah, we'll
future.
definitely have you back on again at a later date, if you're up for
And
that.
keep us informed on any more CE5 encounters you have.
Well, I don't go to more than 2 weeks without one, but
Yeah, anything you have, anything that comes to mind, if you get anything, if you have questions you'd like to ask us, if any, think, you can use your dreams, see what comes in, because I think they, not just visually, I believe they can communicate through our dreams and through actual meditation. So
Yeah.
obviously you've been doing the CE5 thing. If you get a chance to try a meditation and see what comes in, I would be interested to know, Jess. Try
Yeah.
an actual meditation. You're not trying to see anything, right? With meditation, the best thing to do is shut yourself off. You can either look at the back of your eyelids at the darkness and just see what comes in, see what colors come in, see what images come in, and just see where it takes you. Because I reckon they would tell you some stuff, and I'm interested in finding out. So
okay. If I have anything nice and wonderful, I will let you know.
awesome. Thank you so
very
much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Jess, stay on the line. I will have a quick chat before we finish up. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching tonight's show. You've been watching An Out of It with Jessika Allen, Jared Walters, and Richard Oliver. Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you again soon.